Why are France and Russia allies? What have they ever had to do with each other up until World War I? This lecture will take place on Wednesday. We met this morning via Google Hangouts, and pretty much all four of you that met asked, hey, are you going to do these videos every day? And I said, ooh, I'll try. So we will try to keep these videos up for a long period of time to see if this does actually help with your understanding. If it does help, shoot me a comment, shoot me a text and say, hey, this really is helping me, so that I know, A, you're watching the videos, B, that I am actually helping you and not just subjecting you to prolonged videos of me talking. If you think of a way like, hey, Mrs. Palmer, this might be helpful, feel free to let me know. I want to help. This is new to everybody. I've never taught this way before, and you've never learned this way before. So I think that a little bit of trial and error will ultimately end up helping a lot. So back to what I started with. This is blog post 325, agreements and ententes, or excuse me, alliances and ententes. And we're going to start by rehashing the first treaty that we talked about on yesterday's video, which was the Treaty of London, the treaty that Great Britain brokered that gave Belgium their independence from the Netherlands, but also confirmed that Belgium would be forevermore neutral in the times of world conflict. And as an act of good faith and part of brokering this treaty, Great Britain was bound to protect Belgium's neutrality, meaning that when Germany decided to march across Belgium and take it quickly as part of the Schlieffen Act, that was essentially an act of war against Great Britain, because Belgium is a protected state. In this way, its neutrality is protected anyway. But there are several more alliances and treaties that I want to make sure that we look at as sort of another piece of background on why exactly did this small space of the world, relatively small, it's just, Europe, how did that involve the rest of the world into this conflict? What system of alliances that we've alluded to when we've looked at Bismarck and we've looked at other statesmen, what system of alliances were put in place that caused all of these other countries to jump in on top of each other and make this necessarily our first great war? And so in 1839, we've talked about the Treaty of London. I'm not going to hit that horse again. But in 1879, there is a big alliance that I want to make sure that you pay attention to, and it's called the Dual Alliance, and it's between Germany and Austria-Hungary. And the reason that this is significant is because Germany is new at this point. Prior to this, there was the Franco-Prussian War, from which Germany, as we know it, was spawned. And that was only in 1871. So 8 years after Germany becomes its own country, they are super, paranoid. Way paranoid. And so in order to bolster its own rep and also to protect several of its assets, because it has previously taken away a lot of French lands that were pretty valuable and that the French people were not exactly happy about, it decides to enter into an agreement with Austria-Hungary. They're both similar culturally, both speak German, they have a lot in common history-wise. It made sense for it to scramble for an ally, especially since they are right next to each other location-wise, And so they enter into this dual alliance in 1879, meaning that if anybody bothers Austria-Hungary, Germany's going to jump in. If anybody bothers Germany, Austria-Hungary will jump in. And hopefully by surrounding themselves with, big friends, then they will ultimately ward off any pretenders or usurpers to their proposed power. Now, both of these countries had two things in common. One, I have to remember to flip this in the video. One, to their west, Russia was a common enemy. To their east, France, commonly not exactly on great terms. Again, I mentioned that France was a bit peeved at Germany for having taken some French lands, and Germany was always a little bit worried that France might attack to try to take them back, which, in the world's theater, it seems like a very likely thing to be afraid of. So, this dual alliance between Germany and Austria-Hungary essentially said, if Russia attacks us, we're going to help each other out. Now, a little bit later, in 1892, France and Russia, the very people on either side, Russia over there, France over there, on either side of this Austria-Hungary-Germany alliance, they both decide, hey, if they're bunching up right in the middle to be against us, how about we form an alliance on either side? And so they formed, which is so aptly and creatively named, the Franco-Russian Alliance, which meant that if Austria-Hungary or Germany, or if anyone really attacks France or Russia, the other one would come to their aid. This becomes especially important at the beginning of World War I, that happened just a generation later. In 1907, we see the Anglo-Russian Convention, where we have a series of agreements, or in this time, the French word for agreements, entente, E-N-T-E-N-T-E, is used. The ententes, the agreements, are struck between three major countries that if world war were to ever break out, these three would come together. And the three triple ententes, as they were known, are Great Britain, this should surprise none of you, Great Britain, Russia, and France. So, because they are in an alliance together, they are in an entente, an agreement together, it should come not as a shock at all that when Austria-Hungary declares war on Serbia, which causes Russia to declare war on Austria-Hungary, and since Austria-Hungary just got declared war on by Russia, Germany declares war on Russia. Whoa, 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 you declare war on Russia, that means France is going to declare war on whoever declared war on Russia, and then you have Great Britain lagging about to see if they can possibly stay out of it, or if they have to, jump in. On the other side, there is a triple alliance. So you have the triple entente on this side, and you have a triple alliance on the other side. And the triple part of the alliance is a little bit of a misnomer, because one of the three parties didn't necessarily support the other two in World War I, but yet before the Great War started, these three were allied together. First two shouldn't be any surprise if you've watched the first parts of this video. First two were obviously Austria-Hungary and Germany, but the third was Italy. And it's interesting about Italy is because when push came to shove, or I don't know, shovel came to trench, or shot goes to whatever, Italy doesn't go with Austria, Hungary, and Germany. It actually allies with the Triple Entente. It allies with Great Britain, Russia, and France. And so essentially what we are seeing is Austria-Hungary and Germany, with its many small alliances of similar type, versus Russia, France, and Great Britain. So this is basically the system of alliances that led to the war. Now, there are a lot of other alliances, definitely, but these are the ones that I want you specifically to be paying attention to. One other thing I want you to look at is the importance of propaganda in this war. Now, this is not the only time that we will be talking of propaganda. This is not the first time nor the last. But what I'd like for you to do as you're listening to this video, scroll away from my face if you can bear and listen to my voice. I want you to scroll up to the image of the poster that's at the top of this blog post. And it should be an image of 3 women, with the centermost woman holding up a cross, with the other 2 women looking at her. And there's a couple things I want you to take notice of this. Part of your assignment is to analyze this photo. And what this photo is a 1914 poster that was distributed in Russia to sort of garner support against this great war, against this common enemy. And they are looking towards the other members of the Triple Entente, France and Great Britain, to join in and follow, essentially, Mother Russia, who was our center figure, into battle. And what I want you to look at specifically when you look at this image is the imagery attached, the symbols, how the women are standing, which woman is confident, which woman is strong, what is that saying, what is this poster saying about having such a strong person in the middle, who obviously is the intended audience. Is this a poster intended for Great Britain? I would say no, because Great Britain, the woman with the helmet on her head, is not shown as the prominent figure, so it's probably not for the Britishers who this poster is intended. You can look at that way and say, the body language here shows me that they are kind of looking towards Russia for, I don't know, advice, leadership. And that can be translated into how Russia saw itself within this First World conflict, or at least how they wanted their citizens to see themselves, what image they wanted to project into society. So, I want you to be looking at the personification. Y'all, if you don't know what personification is, first of all, shame on you, and shame on whoever was your English teacher last year. Me. You need to be Googling that before you answer 2A. 2B, you already know its positions. This would be going through the imagery of this to look actually, like, why is Marianne, the French personified woman, why is she holding a heart? What does that mean? What could that symbolize? Why is the woman symbolizing Great Britain, Britannia, why does she have a helmet on? Why does she have an anchor? I mean, is she going to beat people with it? What is she going to do? What's going on there? Knowing where this came from, you can look and see what the Russian attitude is, or what attitude that they want their citizens to have when thinking about this war. And you can also make sure you look at the background of this particular poster. Make sure you see what's going on there. It's, at first glance, just a dark background to make the women in the front look more prominent, but if you look closer, you see that it is actually pretty violent. It's a pretty violent battle going on between men, horses, zeppelins, air dogfights, everything going on in the back. Why is that significant? What does that mean? Is there a reason it's so blurry and the women are so clear? What could the poster be trying to share to its audience? These are questions that I want you to look at. I'm going to move around the blog post a little bit. There's also an additional video by the Khan Academy that's sort of a condensed version of the alliance agreement that we discussed at the beginning of this video. If you want to look at that as well, that would be very helpful with your homework and your assignments. As always, you can email me if you have any questions. You can text me before 5 o'clock, and I'm here to help. So whatever you can think of, please let me know. I'll see you guys later.